Yes, sir.
So, in last class, we were discussing about the shear in beams. So, for a thin rectangular beam, we showed that the stress variation in the vertical shear varies in a parabolic fashion. So, the minimum value will occur at the top and the bottom of the beam, and the maximum will occur at the center. And the parabolic profile, the maximum value is maximum value shear stress is 1.5 times the average shear stress. So then we discussed about flange beams. So we found that the shear, a major part of the shear is taken by the web portion. The flange portion will take very little amount of shear. So we we approximated the shear stress in the I-shaped section as simply total shear force by thickness of the web times the depth of the web. So then in today's class, we'll discuss about horizontal shear. The vertical shear means we are having that direction of shear in the same direction as the applied vertical force. Okay, so here we'll discuss about horizontal shear. So here, uh, if you see this wooden plank, which are connected by these nails, so we can find out what is the shear stress coming at the junction of this top plank and the vertical plank. And to calculate that, we'll take this red area, and we calculate the first moment with respect to the neutral axis of this red area. And then we'll substitute in the formula del H is equal to VQ by I, V del X, VQ del X by I. So we'll get that horizontal shear which is acting on this surface and on this surface. Suppose we have a beam which is made of planks. So, but the contact portion, unlike the previous case where it is a horizontal, here we have a vertical contact between this left beam and the mid beam. So, for this case, how do we apply? How do you find what is the shear transferred by this nails? So to do that, what we will do, we will draw the free body diagram of the uh, beam between two segments, segment C and segment D. So here, this is the vertical beam, and this is the red one is the mid beam. And what is happening? The nails provide continuity, means they will make sure that the beams act in an integral way. So there will be some shear stress coming in this vertical face. Okay, on the, so we want to find what is that shear, what is the shear coming on this uh, in this area. So if you see this shear is directed along the axis of the beam. So x-axis is in this direction, y is in the upward, and z is in this direction. So this horizontal shear is actually also, we can call it as the longitudinal shear. So previously in this beam, what happened was the shear was acting in the bottom portion, but here there is no bottom portion. It is left free. So there is no shear stress in the bottom of this mid beam, but there is shear on this side portion. So similarly on the other edge, on the other face also there is some shear. So the total shear, let's call it, let's denote it by delta H. So we want to find what is this delta H. And if you see the surface is perpendicular to the z-axis. So whatever shear stress we are getting on that surface, we will denote it by tau. And since the surface is perpendicular to z-axis, we will have that subscript g, and the direction is in the x-axis, so we have x. So we have tau zx. Okay, so how to find out what is delta H. So what will happen is on this face, the front face, there is this bending stresses acting. So we have sigma d. Those sigma d varies from 0 at the neutral axis, and it reaches a maximum value at the top fiber. So we have to find what is the contribution of that this wedge to this area, front face. Similarly, at the other edge, far away edge, we have that sigma c, and there is this again same bending stresses acting. So we have to find out what is the contribution of those bending stresses to this back face. Okay, so then we can write our equilibrium equation in the x direction. So integral sigma c del a plus del h is equal to integral sigma d dA. Okay, so that we can do. So before doing that, let's look at a similar case. Here we have a rectangular area with a vertical face. Okay, let's look at another case. Suppose we have a beam and we want to find what is a shear which is acting along this curved area. What is the horizontal shear which is being developed in this curved area, given that there is a vertical shear force V acting like that. So what we will do, again we'll sketch the, we'll look at the 3D view, and then we have our neutral axis here, and for the other side the neutral axis is there, and we have our bending stresses indicated by sigma d. So they are 0 here, and maximum value will be at the top fiber, and similarly sigma c 0 at the neutral axis and maximum at the top fiber. So we are doing that force equilibrium in the x direction. So this portion, which is the circular segment, we are cutting it and we are looking at the free body diagram. So there will be bending stresses on this face, and there are bending stresses on this face, and on the cut portion, curved area, there is this delta H which is acting in the longitudinal direction. So we will do the force balance. So this is for a general case. You can do the same thing here, but I just want to show it for this general case. If you want to find what is the horizontal shear coming on this circular surface. So this is arbitrary area. So what I want to know, what is the delta H which is coming. So we'll apply our equilibrium equation in the x direction. Sigma fx is 0. So delta H plus integral over the that shaded area, sigma c minus sigma d. Sigma c is in the positive x and sigma d is in the negative direction, negative x direction. So there will be this sigma c minus sigma d dA. So what we can do, we can send sigma c minus sigma d to the right hand side. So we have sigma d minus sigma c dA. Again, bending stress, we can express this in terms of the bending moment. So we have sigma d is md y by I, and sigma c is mc y by I. So mc is the bending moment coming at this cross section, and md is the bending moment coming at this cross section, and mc is the bending moment coming at the cross section. Okay, so y is the distance from the neutral axis. So what we can do then, md minus mc by I, we can take it out from the integral, and we have our integral y dA over that portion. So what is integral y dA of the it is denoted, it is the first moment of area with respect to the neutral axis of the shaded portion. So we can just replace it with q, and the change in bending moment between segment C and segment D we can write in terms of shear force, V times del x. So we get the longitudinal shear. Again we are getting the same formula, V del x by I q, where q happens to be the first moment of area of the shaded portion. Okay, so the only difference is that in previous scenario we are having the horizontal stress, we are cutting a face which is parallel to the neutral axis. Here the face, the segment we are cutting need not be parallel, it can be any shape, but still we have to calculate the first moment and use it in the formula. So del H will be V del x q by I. So for this problem, we can find what is the shear flow. What is shear flow? It is shear per unit length. So delta H, and let's take this length as dx, the distance between the two segments. So q will be delta H by delta dx, and we get Vq by I. So again, we're getting the same similar formula for the shear flow. So if you want to find what is the shear stress coming on this vertical face here and on this vertical face here, we just calculate the first moment of area of this face, and then we calculate the total moment of inertia of the entire section with respect to the neutral axis, and then we just substitute in these formulas and get the shear V del x by I into q. Okay. So let's do that example. So here the applied shear is 2.5 kilonewton. So the dimensions are given. Dimensions of the plank is given. So plank has this height is 112 and the thickness is 18. And this plank, the length is 60, width is 76, and thickness is again 18. So these planks are joined by these nails. So we want to find what is the shear force taken by each nail. So first thing, we can find the moment of inertia of the total cross section. So we can take the outer rectangle moment of inertia of the outer rectangle and subtract the moment of inertia of the inner rectangle. So centroid of those outer rectangle and inner rectangle coincides with the neutral axis. So we can apply our formula bh cube by 12 minus bh cube of the inner rectangle whole cube by 12. So for the outer rectangle, the width is 112 and height is also 112. So we're having 112 into 112 cube by 12. And for inner rectangle, the width is 76 and height is 76. So 76 into 76 cube by 12. So we're getting some 10.332 into 10 power 6 millimeter power 4. And here the spacing of the nails is given as 44 millimeters, and applied shear is 4.5 kilonewton. So what is the shear coming on this vertical face and what is the shear coming on this vertical face? So the net shear, net horizontal shear, let's call it delta H, and you will find the first moment of this area. So first you have to calculate A value. A value will be 76 into the thickness height, which is 18, and y bar means distance of the centroid of this area with respect to the neutral axis. So this distance is 76 and this distance is 9. So 76 plus the total distance is 76. So this distance is 38 and this distance is 9. So 38 plus 9 is 47. So from that we can get the Q value A y bar. So we're getting around 64,296 millimeter cube. So then we can apply our Q shear flow, which is VQ by I. So V is 2.5 kilonewton. We're expressing in terms of Newton. So we're getting 2,500 Newton into 64,296 millimeter cube by 10.332 into 10 power 6 millimeter power 4. So the shear flow is 15.56 Newton per millimeter. Okay, so the spacing in the nails is 44 millimeters. So we can get the horizontal shear taken by a set of two nails. So delta H will be Q times S, which will be 15.56 into 44, it is 684 Newton. So if you sketch the figure, you sketch the free body diagram for that this mid beam. So we are looking at the 3D view. So there will be bending stresses on this face, on the front face, and bending stress on the back face. And here there is this shear stress which is being developed due to the nails. So there are two nails. So for a spacing of 44 millimeters, there are two nails. So there will be half of it will be taken by this nail here on this face, and half of the delta H will be taken by the nail on the other face. So total delta H will be delta H1 plus delta H2, and since it is a symmetric section, we have delta H1 is equal to delta H2. So from that we will get the shear taken by each nail as half of the calculated delta H, which is 342 Newton. Okay, so this is the simple example where we are applying, we are finding the horizontal shear for a vertical section. Okay, so we can use this concept for analysis of shearing stress in thin wall members. So we have here a wide flange beam. So this is the flange, and here also this is the flange, and this portion is the web portion. So we can do the analysis. The thickness of the section, this flange is very small compared to the depth of the section, and the thickness of the web is also very small quantity. So we can do our analysis for this. We can find what is the horizontal shear coming in this flange. So we have already calculated what is the vertical shear. So the vertical shear will act in the downward direction. Okay, that is the tau xy component. And we can calculate what is the horizontal shear. This shear in this direction, shear in this direction. So how to calculate it? We can apply that formula and get it. And similarly, what is the shear in this circular tube? So there will be some shear flow. We'll discuss about it. And suppose we have a box hollow section and box beam. It's called box beam. So how to calculate what the shear stress in this box hollow section? Okay, so we'll do that analysis. So let's look at that wide flange beam. Let me just take a small break in front. So are you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so let's do the analysis for this wide flange beam. So we want to find what is the horizontal stress. We are horizontal shear. We already have done vertical shear. So how to calculate vertical shear we discussed in the last class. So what we'll do, we will focus on the flange, and what we do, we cut a cross section. We cut a vertical section in the flange. So that vertical section is indicated by the green color. So what will happen is on the we are looking at the free body. We look at that cut section here. This is the cut section, and at the on this surface we have that horizontal longitudinal shear delta H, and there are bending stresses on the front face, this face, and there is bending stress on the back face. So we can apply our equilibrium and we can get the delta H value. So the delta H value we calculated as VQ by I, or V delta X by I into Q. Okay. So we have got that delta H. So this delta H is acting on this surface. So we can find the area of this vertical cut surface, and then we can calculate the stress. So we can, since it is acting in the tangential direction to the surface, we'll denote it as shear stress. So tau, and we are taking average there. So we have tau average is delta H by area. So area of this vertical cut, so the thickness is T and the length is delta X. So T delta X is this area. So delta H by T delta X. So what will happen, VQ by I delta X by T delta X will get VQ by IT. So that is the average shear stress which is acting on this vertical cut. So what we will do, we'll just take a small segment of this. Although I should not indicate B prime here, but just for clarity I wrote it. So we are taking a small segment in the interior of this part of this portion. And what we'll do, we have the coordinate axis 6 x, y, and z. X is the longitudinal axis, y and z are the transverse axis. So here this surface it is perpendicular to the z axis. Okay, so the shear stress associated with this surface in this direction will be tau z, and this is in the x direction, so we have tau z x. Okay, and the tau z x is actually the tau average which we have calculated. And because this segment is in equilibrium, what will happen is for any vertical shear, for this shear acting, there is a corresponding shear which is acting on this face. Okay, so this face is it's perpendicular to the x-axis. So we have tau x, and the direction is in the z. So tau xg here. Okay. So these two will be in equilibrium, and tau xgx will be equal to tau xg. Okay, so this is the shear stress which is occurring in this flange element. Because there is a horizontal shear, there is a corresponding tau zx, and to balance the tau zx, there is a corresponding tau xg. Okay, so the shear will act towards the vertical axis, towards the y-axis. That is the plane of symmetry. So if you take any point between A to the plane of symmetry, the shear stress is acting towards the plane of symmetry. So that is the direction of shear stress. Because H is acting like this, and to balance it, we have to the tau gx will act like this, and tau xg will act towards the vertical plane of symmetry. Suppose if we cut a cross section here and do the analysis, then the shear stress will act tau xg will act towards the vertical plane of symmetry. So it will flow towards, it will go towards the vertical plane of symmetry here. Yeah. Okay, so what we do, so I explained this. Tau xg is tau gx is tau average is VQ by IT. Okay, so the shear stress is a function of the applied shear, the first moment of area. What is the first moment of area of Q? Q is this shaded portion. This shaded portion, the front face, this face, we have to find the Q value there. And by IT, I is the total moment of inertia, and T is the thickness of the segment. So thickness of this segment in the y direction. Okay. So now we define one. We'll define Q. Called it is a shear flow. Shear flow will be tau times T. That is shear stress times the thickness in the y direction. So we will get tau T is equal to VQ by I. Okay. So we can remember this quantity. We already got we can denote Q as delta H by delta X, or you can also write it as shear stress times the thickness. Okay, so now let's do that analysis one. Let's look at that wide flange beam one more time and see how the shear stress is changing as we move towards the vertical plane of symmetry and as we move still downward towards the neutral axis. So here we have our vertical cut at intermediate portion, and the delta H is acting towards you on the vertical cut surface. The delta H is acting towards you, so there's a corresponding tau Zx acting towards you. So to balance it, there is this tau Xg which is acting in the leftward direction. Okay, so to calculate the tau Xg, we have to calculate this first moment of area of this portion, this shaded green portion. So that Q value will find, and then we will substitute in here VQ by IT. T is the thickness of the flange. Now as we start from this edge and move as the cut section move towards the plane of symmetry, what will happen is the Q value will keep increasing. The direction will remain same. Similarly, if you cut a cross section there, what will happen there, the shear stress will act towards the plane of symmetry, so it will act in the rightward direction. And as your cut section moves towards the plane of symmetry, the Q value will keep increasing. Okay, so the shear stress will keep increasing from this point onwards towards the plane of symmetry. And from here, when you move downward, so here we are cutting a horizontal section. Okay, instead of vertical section, we will cut a horizontal section. So when you cut it in a horizontal fashion, so then we have the delta H which is acting again towards you, but it acts on a plane whose normal is in the whose normal is along the y direction. Okay, so delta H will act towards you, and the corresponding shear will denote it as tau yx. Okay, and to balance it, we have the tau xy which will act on this other surface, mutually perpendicular surface. So we have the tau xy which will acting in this direction. Okay, so and then what will happen is the Q of this and this will combine, and we have to take the web portion also, and we get the tau xy. Okay, so I think we have done this yesterday last class. So we have the Q of the flange and then Q of the web portion, and we have the corresponding shear stress along that edge. Okay, and as we move further towards the neutral axis, we'll get the maximum shear stress. And as you cross the neutral axis and move still further down, what will happen is whatever portion of area above the neutral axis, it gives a positive value, and portion below the neutral axis will have a negative value, because minus y dx, when you are doing yda, the y is in the negative direction, so there will be a reduction in the Q value as you move down. So the shear stress will start reducing as you move downward from the neutral axis. So again, once we go here, again, if you our Q value will be determined from this area, and here again the horizontal for this cut, our H value, our delta H will act towards you, so the tau Zx will act towards you. On the mutually perpendicular plane, that is a transverse plane, we have tau Xg which will balance it. So that now here the shear stress is acting away from the vertical plane, so that you have to understand. Although delta H and tau Gx is acting towards you, the tau Gx correspondingly there is a mutual perpendicular plane, so the tau Xg will act in the leftward fashion. Okay, so you just have to look at this, think that this tau Gx is there and tau Xg is acting like this. So here the tau Xg is acting like this. Okay, so it's acting in the same leftward direction, but it happens to be away from the plane of symmetry, vertical plane of symmetry. And similarly, on the other portion, the tau Xg will act like this, and it is acting away from the plane of symmetry. So here, from here onwards, from the neutral axis to as you go towards this flange, the shear stress will keep reducing, and finally, when you reach this point, it will go to the left corner and the right corner. The shear stress will go to 0. So this is the shear stress distribution. So the horizontal shear will start from a small value, increase, and then it will keep increasing. It will suddenly jump, because shear stress contribution from here and here will join, and there is a jump in the shear stress there, and then neutral axis will become maximum, and then from there it will start to decrease, and then here it splits, and then splits up, and then again it will go to 0. as we move towards the left corner and right corner of the bottom flange. Okay, so this is regarding the shear stress distribution. We can calculate what is the shear flow, how the shear flow is varying. Why is it called flow? We'll discuss that also. So what we are doing is we are tracking what is happens to tau t. So what happens to VQ by I as you move from P to N or P prime to N. Okay, so VQ by I. So V and I are constants, but Q value will keep changing. So from here P at point P, Q the small Q capital Q is 0 and small q is also 0. And similarly at P prime, capital Q is 0 and Q small q is also 0. So from here onwards, as you move towards the vertical plane of symmetry, the Q value will be, when you say Q, I'll be talking about small q. So the small q value will keep increasing. And from here to here, it will keep increasing. And at point N, the sum of these two will start to will add up, and the web portion will experience Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. And this Q1 plus Q2 will reach its maximum at the neutral axis, and from here onwards it will start to decrease. And again at this junction S, it will split up into two, Q1 and Q2, and here again Q1 will decrease, and it will finally go to 0 at T and T prime. Okay, so that is what I have summarized here. So segment Pn and P prime and Q is distributed symmetrically. So there is symmetric distribution. So whatever Q value is that is symmetry with respect to the vertical plane. So the Q distribution here and Q distribution is symmetric to the vertical plane here. So at N, Q from Pn and Pn prime N combine to form Q1 plus Q2 at the top of the web. So it's just like you can say a fluid flow. So water from here are joining up, and it is increasing joining, and we'll have to sum up the mass conservation equation you can apply, or you can think of it as like a current. I is equal to I1 plus I2. So, and at Na, the neutral axis location, Q reaches the maximum value. So at this portion, it reaches the maximum value, and between R to S, Q starts to decrease because the capital Q value will start to decrease. And at S, again, it splits up into two parts, one going into segment Q1 and other going into segment Q2. Okay, so this is the concept of shear flow. So shear flow is shear stress times the thickness. So in this portion and in this portion, the flange portion, the thickness will be equal to the thickness of the flange, and in this portion, the thickness will be equal to the thickness of the web, because TW, that is a horizontal cut we are making. So the thickness T will be thickness of the web. Okay, so this is a tricky concept. I have learned this only after a long time. I'm learning. I have never learned this concept before, so I'm learning it for the first time, and I'm repeating it to you. Okay, so now we will also discuss about shear stress and shear flow in box beam. So to analyze this box beam, how the shear stress is varying and all, so we have to cut a cross section in this fashion. And what will happen is, if you look at the 3D view, there will be delta H here on this surface and delta H here on that surface, which is acting towards you. And so there is a corresponding tau Zx. And to balance it, there is a tau Xg and tau Xg. Okay, so that is the shear stress on this face, on this face, on this edge and on that edge. Okay. So as you increase as you move the vertical cut away and away from the plane of symmetry, the tau Xg will keep increasing. And from this on, once we reach this corner and we go towards inside the web, along the web, so we can find the shear stress there. But what will happen is the vertical cut will become into a horizontal cut, and the delta H will be acting on a surface whose normal is parallel to the y-axis. So we'll have tau yx, and so correspondingly there is this tau xy. There is this tau xy here. So again, the tau value will keep increasing, shear stress, and at the neutral axis it will reach the maximum value, and from there onwards the Q value will start decreasing, both the capital Q, and therefore the shear stress also will start to decrease. And once we go here, and the shear stress will flow like this. Again, the tau xg will be in this direction and towards the vertical plane in the bottom flange, and finally it will go to 0 at this location. So this is the shear stress. So here shear stress is at the top flange is acting away from the vertical plane. Unlike the I section. In the I section, what is happening? It is acting towards the vertical plane. Okay, so, but here in the box section, the shear stress is acting away from the vertical plane, the horizontal shear. Okay, so we can track the shear flow, which is Q is equal to tau T, which is VQ by IT into T, so VQ by I. So what is happening to that? Again, same thing, the Q value will, QA at point A it is 0, and as you move towards B, it will keep increasing, and from B to C, it will keep increasing more, and at C, it will reach the maximum value. From C to D, again, it will start to decrease, and from D to E, it will keep on decreasing, and at E, it will go to 0. Okay. Okay, so this whatever is spoken is written in words here, is written in sentences. QA is 0, Q increases from A to B to C, Q reaches maximum at the neutral axis, and then from C to D to E decreases, and at E it goes to 0. Main thing is, one thing is that at the corners B and B prime and D and D prime, there is no sudden jump. Unlike in the flange portion, we had Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. There is a sudden jump, but here there is a continuous change. There is no jump here. There is a continuous variation between in the Q value. Unlike that wide flange section. So in the wide flange section, what happened when you reach the junction at the web, at the top of the web, the shear flow was added up. Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. The left segment and right segment was added up. But here there is no such jumps are happening. So we can do analysis for shear flow in pipe section also. So we can look at the Q value for this portion or this portion. C is the centroid of this pipe section, and we have the neutral axis. So what will happen? We can cut a cross section here. We can make a cut such that the cut is in the radial direction. Okay, and then we on that cut which is in the longitudinal direction, we have delta H, and for the delta H we have tau value, and to balance that there is a tau on this face. Okay, so the tau is acting in this radial direction here. And what will happen to the shear stress? I think it will be 0 at this point, or it will be 0 at this point, or it will be 0 at this point, I think, obviously, and it is 0 there because that phase is free from shear, and this phase also is free from shear. So shear is 0 and 0 here, and probably as you move towards the vertical axis, it will be the maximum, I think. Yeah, I think here it should be the maximum value, or will it be maximum than neutral axis? Please think about it. I have not thought about it, so I don't know the answer right now. But you can think how is the shear distribution happening in this pipe section. Using the same analysis we can do. You can analyze it. Same methodology you can analyze it. Okay, so let's solve some examples. Here we have a wide flange beam, and the dimensions are given of the flange thickness is 19.6, and the total depth is 264, and the section is W250 into 101. I think this is a standard dimension. We have to refer to the table and get the moment of inertia. So if you refer to the table for this and look for the property for moment of inertia, you get I neutral axis is 164 into 10 power 6 millimeter power 4. It is already given. So what is given also is that the shear, which is 200 kilonewton, is being applied, and we want to find what is the horizontal shear coming at point A, which is located at 108 from the this flange edge of the beam. Okay, so we want to find what is the shear delta H coming there, or shear stress coming in this in the horizontal way. So what is tau xg we want to find out. So what we'll do, we'll do a vertical cut, and we'll find the area, and we'll find the centroid of that area, and then we'll find the first moment of this area. So area is 19.6 into 108, and centroid is total length is 132, and thickness by 2, 19.6 by 2. We'll get the centroid 122.2 millimeters, and the first moment of area A times y bar, so 19.6 into 108 into 122.2, we're getting this value 258 into 10 power 3 millimeter cube. So once we know the Q value, we can find the tau value, which is VQ by IT. So I value is already supplied from the table for this material, for this section. So we can substitute all the values, express it in terms of Newton. So 200 will become 200 kilonewton will become 210.3 Newton, and the remaining quantities we can plug in. So T value is thickness of the flange, so 19.6, and we get 16.096 megapascal. So that is the horizontal shear stress. So the shear stress is acting, that is the tau xg which is acting, and correspondingly there is a tau zx and delta h which is acting towards you, okay, on that vertical cut. So if you can imagine the 3D view, so this portion will be a solid and the delta h, tau zx will act towards you, and tau xg will balance it, and it will act in this fashion, towards the left, in the left direction. So we can do another analysis. This one, what is given, the same beam is given, same I section is given, and we are having plates at the top and the bottom. The plate dimensions are 300 by 18 into some length is there. So this thickness is 18 and width is 300, and they are welded to the top flange and the bottom flange by these welds. These are fillet welds. So these welds will are along the length of the beam. We are welding it. So that these two beams, this plate and this beam act together, and this plate and this beam will act together. So that, yeah, that's it. So these are called fillet welds. And what are we asked? We are asked the same question. What is the horizontal shear stress coming at point A, or at this point? So at the first instant, when I thought of how to solve the problem, I was thinking we'll cut a section like this, vertical section passing through A, so that we'll have the plate and the flange together, and we'll find the Q value for the entire cut portion. I thought like that, but then the solution, it is different. What the solution they have done is, they have taken a symmetric point A prime. With respect to the vertical plane, there is another symmetric point. So this is A prime. Okay, and A prime is located at 108 from that left edge. And what they have done, they have cut a section like this. So there is a top plate. So the entire top plate is taken, and here this portion of the flange and that portion of the flange is taken, and we are analyzing this for the Q value. So I didn't know why they are doing it, but I hope the textbook is right. So I'm trying to justify what the textbook is doing. Okay, so my justification could be that if you are cutting in this fashion, so this cut will represent a surface in the longitudinal direction, and on that surface there is delta H prime acting towards you, and this cut will represent again a longitudinal surface, and there delta H is acting towards you. So the sum of delta H prime and delta H is the net longitudinal shear which is acting towards you. So we want to find that net longitudinal shear, delta H. So once we know that, then we can divide by the area. Area will be the surface, this longitudinal surface area, that longitudinal surface area, T times delta X plus T times delta X. So 2T delta X, and we'll get the shear stress in the tau xg acting towards, tau zx acting towards you. So to balance it, there is this tau xg and tau xg in this direction. So tau xg here will act towards the vertical plane, and tau xg there will act towards the vertical plane. Okay, so I am thinking like this, and the solution is straightforward. Once you get this figure, the solution is straightforward. So first thing we'll do is we'll calculate the I for the entire cross section. So I of this I section and the plates. So I of this section is already given, 164 into 10 power 6. And for the plates, we'll use our parallax theorem. So BH cube by 12, and then BH into the distance between the centroid and the neutral axis. So BH cube by 12, 300 into 18 cube by 12, and area into the distance between the centroid and the neutral axis. So 132 plus 9, so 141. So that is 141 square. There are two plates, so we have to multiply with the 2. So 2 into BH cube by 12 plus A into the distance between centroid and the neutral axis square. So that will be the total moment of inertia of this cross section. And as I said before, we want to find what is the longitudinal shear. So longitudinal shear is occurring here and here. So the total longitudinal shear is that one, and Q value is the sum of this area and this two small areas. Okay, so we'll calculate, we'll apply this formula VQ by I delta X, and area will be, area of the cross sections will be this cross section area, that cross section area. So there is two TF into X delta X and TF into delta X. So total area is 2 TF delta X. So the tau value will be delta H by V, which is VQ by I times 2 TF. Delta X will cancel out. So 2 TF will go to the denominator there. And we want to find what is Q for this cross section, first cross section, the plate cross section. So area of the plate is 300 into 18, and distance of the centroid from the neutral axis. So 132 plus 9, 141. So that is 300 into 18 into 141. And for these two small segments, what is the Q value? So we already have done that. The thickness is 19.6, width is 108, and distance is 122.2. So there are two segments here. So 2 into 108 into 19.6 into 122.2. So we're adding both of them and we're getting this value. And then we can substitute here in this formula. So 200 into 10 power 3, Q value is this one. And I value, if we are summing up that, we're getting this 379 into 10 power 6. And 2 TF will be 2 into 19.6, so 17.21 megapascal. So it seems that the shear stress is increasing at that point because we have supplied the plates at the top and the bottom of the tie section. So this is regarding it. I'm still not clear why you have to do a cut like this. Why can't we do a cut like this? We can just cut across the plate and do the analysis, but I don't know why you are not doing it.